The Stinger and the Spectre have both had a dominating role in a variety of contexts over Valorant's history, but mostly for the purpose of force buying or having a slight edge in a save round. And at two wildly different price points, you'd think which SMG was better would be a close debate, but after some statistical analysis, combined with real in-game testing in Immortal rank lobbies, we might actually have a more surprising answer. Welcome to Esports Driven, and today we're going to offer a whole new perspective on what to buy in those ever so common rounds where you can't rock a Phantom. So let's start by getting the hard statistics on the table. Looking at their fire rates, the Stinger beats the Spectre with its 16 RDS up from 13.33. That's an 18.2% increase, and in the context of an SMG, that's a huge buff as you'd likely just full spray upon enemy contact. Now let's look at their damage numbers. The Stinger yet again beats the Spectre with its damage output, oddly enough hitting harder than the pricier SMG. They both require 6 body shots for a kill, and while 27 base damage up from 26 in the 0 to 20 meter range doesn't mean anything immediately, it's the damage drop off over time that begins to add up. The Spectre needs a whopping 7 body shots to take an enemy down past this point, because the drop off sets the body shot damage to just 22. The Stinger retains its ability to 6-shot everyone, adding right up to 150 past the drop-off range. The way the Spectre edges out over the Stinger in this department is its headshot numbers. If you're not past 20 meters, the Spectre outputs 78 damage per headshot, while the Stinger peaks at 67. This is a big deal as the whole point of SMGs is to deal high-speed damage at close range while on the move. This gives the Spectre a ridiculously low time to kill, maxing out at 150 milliseconds, the Stinger's best TTK, assuming our enemies are 150 HP, is 187 milliseconds with a triple headshot. While this is nice, a 37 millisecond difference isn't a whole lot either, as both guns are fairly inaccurate, especially on the move. The biggest factor in what deters players from the Stinger is the initially intimidating recoil. From tests in the range, the Stinger has roughly 40% more recoil than its counterpart. I placed my crosshair in the bullseye at 10 meters and let both the guns rip, and while the Spectre maintained a steady pace, the Stinger almost went off the graph. Less recoil is always a plus in Valorant, so the Spectre wins this round, but that's simply assuming you're fighting an enemy in the range where full spraying is most viable. What about if you need to clutch out some good shots at a distance? That's where the Stinger's true colors shine. A quick note to make is that the Spectre has a suppressor and the Stinger doesn't. That means you can spray smokes without your location being revealed from the other side. The Spectre is also inaudible past 40 meters, unless it's in the direction of fire. So if your whole team has Spectres and you spray a smoke on A, the B players likely won't hear the commotion elapsing. The ADS function on the Stinger is hilariously stronger than the Spectre's. With the Stinger, you get a 4-round burst with a tight spread that gets even tighter if you account for the recoil by pulling down. The Spectre, on the other hand, doesn't have such a feature, functioning similarly to the Phantom instead. Not to mention, with more testing in the range, the rate at which you can output highly accurate rounds is about twice as good with the Stinger. Try bursting the Spectre at 30 meters. You'll find the gun's recoil jumps up uncontrollably unless you wait out the entire recoil reset. A factor a lot of people missed in patch 2.03, a minor buff to the ADS feature. They improved the recovery time on burst mode from 0.45 over 0.4. Having this low of a recovery time matches a similar gameplay pattern to a bursting rifle, a weapon far outside the class of an SMG. But here we are in the range, one-shotting enemies on the move with a gun 3 times as cheap. This gives the so-called inferior weapon much greater versatility if a longer range fights are required. The respective gun's bullet count matters a lot, and which one you choose really depends on your game plan for the round. The Spectre rocks 30 rounds, up from the Stinger's 20. You'll empty the entire Stinger clip in 1.2 seconds. Meanwhile, the Spectre can full spray for a whole 2.2 seconds. That's essentially twice as long and means multi-kills will be significantly more common without having to reload. So for context's sake, we'd recommend the Stinger more on the attacker side, as gunfights are typically 1v1s with breaks in between, unlike on defense where you could need to fight up to 5 enemies simultaneously. We'll quickly cover the accuracy department. The Stinger has a 0.65 base spread that drops to 0.5 by aiming down sights. The Spectre has a 0.4 base spread that drops down to 0.25 similarly. In short, the Spectre is 38% more accurate, although this matters a lot less with the playstyle of SMGs, which is mostly dominated by running and spraying. Even still, this reinforces the Spectre's role as a close-range headshot machine, and for the most part works out in its favor. But as previously mentioned, the Stinger is light years better at bursting from range. So is the respective accuracy that important? We'll let you decide. Now we're going to give some conjecture on the matter of pricing. The Spectre has quite a barrier to entry with its $1,600 price point, meaning if you lost pistol round, you likely won't even be able to purchase it with light armor, assuming you're stuck at around 1900 credits. The Stinger, on the other hand, is an absolute steal at 950 credits. This means you can force this oddly powerful SMG every round you want, with full armor as a bonus. Choosing the Stinger over the Spectre on the applicable rounds means you'll be saving 650 credits for each instance, and assuming that's once every 3 rounds across a 21 round match of a typical 13-7 game, that's 4,550 credits saved. With those numbers, that's a free rifle and a half per match, or essentially all your abilities being free for the game. To wrap up this research, I went Stinger only for eco rounds in my Immortal lobbies for 3 weeks, and never intentionally purchased a Spectre. And to be honest, I felt like I had more credits, more influence per round, and the amount of eco buys we ended up winning went up significantly. I also mastered the tech of the burst fire mode. By training myself to know exactly how much to pull the recoil down depending on the range, it's gotten to the point where very frequently I one-shot enemies using the 4-round burst. So no, this is not just Stinger propaganda. Within a few deathmatches of practice, you might just change your mind too. So we're not going to end this video telling you should completely ditch the Spectre for the Stinger. Our research and analysis prove that the Stinger ends up doing better both financially and for versatility's sake. But for an example on defense, when you need to take down loads of opponents on a moment's notice, that's where the Spectre gets to shine. And don't forget the headshots either. Those are nice. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to look at our comparison between the Phantom and Vandal, where we show you which gun is better and why. Also, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all our content. We'll catch you next time.